We're trying a new filming location. Let's see how it goes. My apartment's kind of hard to work with for stuff like this, so hopefully this one works out. Today I'm going to talk about malls and how they've become kind of depressing. I know I used the Mall of America in the thumbnail, but the Mall of America is honestly the only mall that still feels like a mall to me, and I'll get more into that later. I don't know what it's like in the rest of the country where it's like warm enough to go outside year-round, but here in the Midwest, malls have always been kind of a bigger thing, and I think they're surviving here longer than they have elsewhere. Like, it's no secret that malls are dying out. There's literally entire YouTube channels dedicated to looking at abandoned malls. And I haven't run any statistics on whether most of them are further south or if they're just all over the country equally, but all the ones in Minnesota, at least that I knew about, have still stayed around, even though I think some of them are probably gonna die soon, or they're just like starting to go downhill real bad. Malls used to be like the place, right? Like we've seen how in the 80s and 90s kids would just go hang out at malls. I would see that even when I was a kid on like TV shows, kids would just go hang out at malls, which always seemed weird to me because you need a car to get to a mall. So do these people, like, do these kids just live really close to malls? Is that just a coincidence, or did there used to be more malls or something? I don't know, but it seemed cool. It seemed really cool to be able to just go hang out at the mall all day because there was food, there's stuff to look at, there's places to just sit and hang out and talk with your friends. Like, that seemed fantastic. I never had that experience, but I really liked the idea of it. But even when I was younger and I would go to malls, there were people just hanging out. There's people everywhere. There was, you know, so many different stores. There was so much cool stuff to look at. And I remember always being really excited to go to the mall. Like, mini story time here. So I have an uncle who's very much that kind of stereotypical, like, masculine man. Like, he works a manual labor, like, trade job. He very much is like, man be manly, woman be feminine. Like, he's very much like that. So when I got to middle school, I think it was exactly 6th grade, he decided he no longer knew what to give me for Christmas because I was a girl. And so what he did was instead he would just take me shopping every year, which was really cool because, I mean, I'm not gonna deny I do like shopping, even just window shopping, honestly. I don't need to buy anything. That was always a really cool thing, and if you know anyone who works in a trade field, you know they make a lot of money, so my uncle never gave me a budget or anything, which was new for me, and that was really cool. I mean, there was a budget, he just didn't tell me what it was, but to a kid that meant infinite money. But also as a kid, I was buying like $20 t-shirts. I'd be in Forever 21 and be like, that's a pretty shade of green, I want that, and it was like 10 bucks. Like, it's not like I had expensive taste back then, so it didn't really matter. At some point, he made it a goal to bring me to every mall in the state, so I have been to every mall in the state. And back then, they were all still pretty poppin', but there was a couple that seemed emptier than others. Like, there was maybe a couple empty storefronts, or maybe there weren't as many people as I was used to seeing in the malls that I had been to normally. So I think that was kind of when I started noticing the decline of malls. And now they're very sad. Like, every time I go to a mall now, it's like there's a bunch of empty storefronts, there's no one there, there's no one just hanging out. Like, all the little seating areas are just empty, except for maybe one guy like playing on his phone, probably waiting for his wife. And again, Mall of America is really the only mall that doesn't still feel like that. Like, it still feels pretty mallish, though there are a lot of empty storefronts in the Mall of America. But I think that's mostly due to how expensive rent is there because it's like the biggest mall in the country or whatever. Even though it still feels like a mall, there's still some of those signs that maybe it's not doing as well as it used to be. So a lot of the things I'm saying here may not really apply to the Mall of America, but as a local, it's just a mall. It's just bigger. Like, there's 6 Starbucks in there. It's not like every store is unique. There's 3 Ragstocks, there's 3 Victoria's Secrets. Like, it's just a mall, but bigger. There's maybe a few more independent stores or stores that we don't have anywhere else in the state, but there's stores that you can find in other states. So to me, it's not like some crazy thing, but people still come here as tourists to see the Mall of America, so it must be something. I think part of the decline of malls started happening again when I was a kid, maybe even before that. And it has to do with 2 things, and that is 1, the actual shopping environment, and 2 is just legislation and stuff around like what children and teens are able to do. And let me elaborate first on that part, the latter part, because that's really interesting to me and I think people don't talk about it that much. I have been seeing people online mentioning how, you know, when adults complain like kids these days don't go outside, and the main argument for that is We can't go outside. Loitering is illegal. We can't go sit around somewhere. One time in high school, my friends and I were sitting outside of Walmart, not like in the front, but like, you know, just around the corner, because there's like a picnic bench there, and I don't know, we were just chilling outside Walmart. And we got asked to leave because people thought we were a gang. Do I look like a gang member? I sure don't right now, and I definitely didn't back then. Like, I was just with really normal looking dudes, so it's like, I don't know why they thought we were a gang, but yeah, we were asked to leave the outside of Walmart for standing around. And it's kind of the same thing in a lot of places. Like McDonald's has a 30-minute limit and you have to have bought something. Not that they always enforce that, but you might get that one manager who really is a stickler for some of that stuff. Another thing, it's kind of impossible to get anywhere without cars. Like I mentioned earlier, I didn't live within walking or biking distance of a mall, so I never got that experience of hanging out with one as a kid. They were all driving distance away. And all the malls that I'm aware of aren't even surrounded by neighborhood either. There's neighborhood probably within biking distance if you're a kid and you're very determined, but it's not like they're in a residential area. They're in a shopping zoned area. There's just more stores around the mall. And probably, at least in my area, there's like highways around it and stuff. So it's like you can't go hang out at malls because you can't get there unless a parent drives you. And if you're a kid looking for something to do during the day in the summer, your parents are at work. They can't drive you. And you can't drive because you're a kid or a teenager, like young teenager even. So it's like, how are we supposed to go hang out at malls? And even if you do, again, there's loitering. Most places don't allow things like skateboarding, rollerblading, which is what a lot of kids like to do when they hang out, I think. I didn't, but that's beside the point. There's just so many places where it's not legal to be there for long, not legal to be there without buying anything. When you're a kid, you don't have money. And there's a lot of places now where you can't be there without an adult. But literally at the Mall of America, if you're under 16, you have to be with an adult. So how are kids supposed to go and just hang out? Because obviously the parent's gonna kill the vibe. We all know kids don't like hanging out with their parents and their friends. Like, that's always so weird. Anyway, like I said, because of that legislation, malls kind of have started declining even before the pandemic because no one could get to them unless you were an adult. And I mean, granted, adults are the ones with money, but I think even kids with an allowance would have spent money at the mall. Like, I don't know about you guys, but my neighborhood was neighborhood for miles. There was, like, I lived in a suburb. There's nothing within a reasonable distance away for me to get to without a car. Of course, the past year's events have not helped anything because when people were not able to go to stores, those stores were not getting revenue, then they closed, and then when malls have less stores, then the whole mall suffers, basically. Stores have been dying for other reasons too, though. Not to jump on the whole millennials are killing everything bandwagon. Millennials started killing department stores, Gen Z is killing fast fashion stores, and I mean, what are staples of a mall aside from those kiosks with the guy trying to clean one of your shoes so that you walk around with one dirty shoe all day? It's the department stores, the anchor stores, and then the fast fashion stores. Those are what people go there for. Those are the big draws, the biggest stores in the mall, and the ones that bring in the most money. So when those stores fail, there's hardly anything keeping the mall afloat. Which is sad, because to me, a mall is a good, convenient place to go to a lot of stores at once. But there's so many sad malls now where, like, anything I would want to go to is gone. And that's why I go to the Mall of America now. And I used to never go there, but it's like, that's the only place where there's still a bunch of stuff in one place, honestly. Sorry if the framing, like, suddenly changed. My cat knocked my camera over. Anyway. But another thing that's sad about malls is just that shopping is boring now. Shopping in stores is boring, and that's why people my age are not really doing it. All the stores are carrying the same things, not just as each other, but also the same things that have always been there, if that makes sense. So I got some money from my grandpa for Christmas for shopping, and so I went to the mall the other day. Not the Mall of America, just like a small mall. Well, I don't know if it's considered small. Maybe it's a medium-sized mall. Honestly, living by the Mall of America has made my perception of how big malls are just very skewed. But I went to a mall, and I was like, cool, I'll go shopping and pick up some stuff. And granted, I shop a lot differently now than I used to. I tend to have specific items in mind that I've been looking for, or specific types of pieces that I want in my wardrobe, which makes it less likely for me to impulse purchase things. Anyway, I was wandering around the mall, and I was like, I have money to spend. If I see something I like, I could just buy it. But I didn't really see anything that I was that enthusiastic about. And it's just because, I mean, I'm 24. I have basics. I don't really need basic jeans and t-shirts or whatever anymore. So I'm more looking for more trendy or more interesting pieces, but everything's so boring. Like, And when every fast fashion store like has the same stuff that I've already seen 100 times, that I've seen better executed in independent stores online. And yes, it's more expensive. That's a discussion for another day about whether you should be purchasing fast fashion or not. But anyway, like I kept seeing all these ultra trendy pieces and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I realized, oh wait, but I've seen this before. Either I have something similar that I've ordered already from online, or I've just seen it done better online. So it's like, if I'm gonna get this thing, why would I not get the one that looks better? You know, from a smaller company that, you know, I prefer supporting smaller businesses. But yeah, it was just like H&M, Forever 21, like they all sold the same things as each other. So it's like, there's no point in going to all of them. And with department stores, it's like they carry the same things they've always carried. They carry the same like mid-tier designery, you know, name brands, just the same type of styles, the same type of thing they've always had. Like I went to Macy's and it's just the same stuff I see every time I go to Macy's. There's nothing new. There's nothing interesting. It's so boring. And that's like, it made me sad. I'm like, you know, shopping used to be fun. I used to find fun, weird pieces that would catch my eye. There'd be like unique stuff. You know, I'd go to different stores for different types of things. And now they're like all the same. And it's just because they're all doing the same thing. They're all like making slightly different iterations of the one trendy thing. It's just kind of sad. Like shopping online is so much more fun. Thrifting is more fun. Like I get so excited to go thrifting. Like that same day I went shopping, I was gonna go to a thrift store, which ended up being closed because it's a small business, so they're closed on Mondays. I was so excited to go there, and I was not nearly as excited to go to the mall. Maybe it's because, the smaller malls don't have like anything in them aside from department stores and fast fashion stores, but I was way more excited to go thrifting, and that's because you have that possibility of finding something really cool and really interesting, and everything there is so much more unique, and it's more of like a thrill of the hunt kind of thing. I don't know. Maybe I sound like a total dork right now. But yeah, I don't know. Shopping at malls just like isn't fun anymore. Like even stores I could order from online, but like I'm an instant gratification person. I hate ordering things. I'd rather just go buy it. So that's really the only reason I go to the mall at all anymore, is to buy something in person that I could also order online. And there's a lot of malls in my area who've lost an anchor store, and now the whole mall again is suffering because when one of those stores closes, you lose a lot. Yeah, it's getting sad because there's so many empty storefronts. There's no one around. Even before the pandemic, I feel like there was hardly any people around. And yeah, just shopping in the stores isn't even interesting because they all have the same stuff that's been done better for like not even that much more expensive. Like I literally got a trendy like checkered top from Yes Style that I like better than everything I saw in a fast fashion store when I went shopping. So it's like, you know, malls are just sad, which is disappointing to me because I like the idea of malls. I like that I can go to one location and go to a bunch of different places without going outside. Again, that's why I think malls have lasted longer here than maybe the rest of the country, is just because it's so cold most of the year. We don't want to go outside to go from store to store. So malls, in theory, are a really good idea. Plus with malls, it's not only shopping, you can get other businesses in there, like, you know, there's cell phone stores, there's dry cleaning, alterations, there's like nail salons and brow places and stuff. Like, you can have a lot of stuff in a mall. You could go get all your errands done at once. Super convenient. But just the way malls run, I don't know if it's just really, they depend so much on their anchor stores, and that if they go under, then everything goes under. But it's just, yeah, between stores closing all the time and no one going to malls, they're just dying, and the only things left in them is the businesses. There's really no reason to go to malls anymore, and it's kind of sad. Maybe it is because I never had that experience as a kid of hanging out in a mall with my friends, but I've always liked the idea of that. Anytime people invite me out to a mall, I'm like, yes, let's go, let's hang out at the mall. Like, it's almost like nostalgic, but for a thing that I've never actually experienced. So maybe that's why I'm kind of sad about malls dying. I'm sure other people would be ecstatic about it because they take up a lot of space and encourage consumerism and whatever else, but again, it's nice to not have to go outside when you live somewhere that is below 10 degrees Fahrenheit for a few months out of the year. Like, it's just nice to be able to chill inside and get all your stuff done and maybe look at some stuff and kill some time. There's quite a few malls around here that I think it's only a matter of time before they close. I've even been to malls that are on the Dead Malls channels, and yeah, it is just sad because it's really just a waste, honestly, of money and real estate. And I guess I don't have a big conclusion. This isn't some problem that I want to try to solve. I'm not really trying to teach you anything, I'm just kind of ranting about how it's kind of depressing to go to malls now, and that's really unfortunate. If you ever are in Minnesota, I'd say check out the Mall of America, because again, to me, it's like the only mall I've been to recently that still feels like a mall. It still gets busy on weekends. There's very few empty storefronts, though there are some, but I think that's inevitable with somewhere that has as high of rent as Mall of America probably does. Again, it's just a big mall to me, but it can be fun to hang out and kind of try to get part of that experience that I missed out on when I was younger. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope it was interesting to hear me rant about malls and talk about why they're kind of going downhill. Let me know your thoughts in the comments on malls, because I do think it's interesting to hear different people's perspectives on something so weirdly specific. Anyway, feel free to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next one.